Get over here!
I could see, like, a scenario where, like, they're preparing for the battle the next day, or, like, okay, we're going to, like, spend the day crossing this field, then we'll be up on this hill, and Ez is like, okay, so we need to get there by such and such an hour so that we're there at the morning and we're ready to catch them at the top of the hill, and Seth's like, that won't work, we need to, like, take this the wrong way around, and then Ez is like, you're wrong mathematically, like, clearly, if we do this way, we need to get there as soon as possible. That gives us the best advantage. And then it turns out, like, Seth's like, oh, well, you didn't, like, factor in the sun, though. And is like, what? Well, if we get there and start the battle early in the middle of the morning, all of our archers are going to be firing with their eyes facing the rising sun, and we'll be at a disadvantage. Like, that's not on your game board, Inez.
Yeah, that's true.
like that sort of thing. And Inez, like, kind of, like, grumbles, and Seth's just like, I've just been doing this a long time.
Yeah, the whole book smarts versus street smarts
thing.
Yeah, no, like, I would totally... See, that's also the kind of thing that I feel like is, like, I remember Josh and Ari, like, kind of pointed it out with the Royals of, nice sound, the Royals of, Fates as well, in that, like, Leo is definitely the book smarts guy, whereas Takumi is more the street smarts guy. He's the one wise enough to be like, hey, this guy from another kingdom that we know very, very little about, maybe let's not trust him so easily, you know?
Yeah. That is always the hill I will die on with Takumi.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
Takumi was being extremely reasonable.
I don't care what anyone says. I think Takumi is, like, one of the best characters in Fates. Like, don't at me.
Yeah. Like, sure, he's, like, the asshole, the, like, most, like, xenophobic guy, but it's kind of just weird that there aren't more xenophobic guys.
That's it, yes! Yeah. Like, for real! Like,
I would expect the average person to be, like, very wary of Norians.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? This kind of reminds me of the, what was it? This kind of reminds me of the, oh, why don't we have an asshole rival argument from Pokemon?
Yeah.
And, like, you know, the instant we get it, well, no. Scarlet and Violet had some pretty reasonable, rivals, and, once we got into the, DLC, we got what people were asking for, and honestly, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say right now, I do not like Carmine. I despise Carmine.
I haven't played the DLC yet, so I really have no frame of reference.
Yeah, no, straight up. I do not like Carmine. Do I think she's a great character? Yes. Because I don't like her. You know?
I was thinking about, also part of... I think part of with, like, Blue, back in the day of being, like... To me, he was, like, the perfect asshole rival.
Yeah.
But that's mainly because, like, I was less good at the game back then with Red and Blue, and that even though, you know, every rival character, you're going to end up beating them a whole bunch of times throughout the story, because that's how you progress through the game.
Yeah.
So, like, they kind of lose their air of superiority when you're beating them constantly, but when I was playing Blue version as a kid, I would usually take a few tries before beating Blue every time I saw him, so it was like I spent more time losing to him than winning to him, even though, like, only my victories were quote-unquote canon. In my mind, he was still, like, a big deal every time he showed up.
The funny thing is like, a lot of people do like to praise Blue for being a good asshole rival, and he is, but, this is me having replayed Fire Red, or Leaf Green, rather, recently, because, like, I'm borrowing your copy.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the dialogue and a lot of, like, the, signs that you get from Blue aren't really that he's an asshole. He's just kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, is he he's not even that bad of a jerk.
Yeah.
He's just kind of, like, he's that annoying bully kid that, like, he's an annoying bully kid that teased you in high school, but he never stole your lunch money.
I mean, he doesn't do anything wrong. He's just... And most of the rivals... Some of the rivals don't. I guess you can get into, like Bede and Silver.
I was going to say, Silver literally robs the
Yeah.
professor from his laboratory and steals one of the Pokemon from his like,
But
literally from his office.
I think Silver is the outlier, though.
Oh, absolutely, but a good one. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like, I think Silver's handled very, very well, in Gold and Silver.
Yeah. Like, I think a lot of the time now you have kind of two rival characters, and one of them is the more nice, let's just have fun one, and the other is the more competitive one.
Mm-hmm.
Though Scarlet and Violet, I think, doesn't follow that as much. Or like, kind of bends those characters a lot. But I mean, in, like, Sun and Moon, you have How is the let's just have fun guy, and Gladion is the, like, more serious, I need to beat you, like, everything is riding on this win for me rival. And then in Sword and Shield, you have Hop, who, like, does have his own business of wanting to live up to his brother, but, like, the fights you have with him are more chill, and he's kind of always chasing to be as good as you.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you have Bede, who
Definitely has a chip on his shoulder.
yeah, is very antagonistic. And then you also have, what's her name?
Marnie.
Marnie.
I
She's kind
feel,
of in the middle.
Yeah, Marnie's kind of in the middle, and I think, like, it's fine, personally. I like Marnie, but she's definitely the, yeah, I'm competitive, but I'm not gonna be a dick about it, you know?
And then, like, Nimona is really, really competitive, but she's also really, really nice to you all the time.
Oh, like, I'm just gonna say, like, Nimona, like, shot up as, like, one of my favorite rivals of all time.
I
and,
have a lot of fun with Nimona.
like,
yeah.
she's, like, a lot of people compare her to Goku, from Dragon Ball Z, and I'm like, you know, like, some of y'all say that as a bad thing. I don't think it is.
You guys don't like Goku?
I was gonna say, like, she's fun.
Since when do we not like Goku? Yeah, like, she really wants to battle. That's what she's here for. That's what I'm here for.
Uh-huh. Like, does it go into the borderline of obsessive? Yes, definitely, but I think that's the point.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how seriously you're taking the story.
Yeah.
Not like if you're not taking it as seriously, you don't like it as much, but just like what do you think the stakes are of all these fights? Like, the stakes of Scarlet and Violet aren't very high until you get to Area Zero.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there is that whole thing with, like, you know, the whole Cassiopeia arc, but even then, that one's not, like, world-ending crisis level,
Yeah.
like, threat.
Wait, Cassiopeia.
Penny.
Oh, I mean, yeah, because Team Star's not doing anything. That's kind of the twist of it in the end, is that Team Star wasn't really doing anything wrong. It was kind of a, like, bullying cycle.
Essentially, yeah.
But, like, I do kind of love the irony that you first find out about Team Star because they're being a little bit too forceful trying to recruit Penny, who, unbeknownst to them, is the person who started Team Star.
Yep.
So that's kind of funny.
Uh-huh. And then there's, the last rival, what was his name again? Sandwich Dude.
Yeah, Sandwich Guy. Arvin?
Arvin, that's it, thank you. And, like, Arvin was endearing because he's trying to save his dog.
Yeah.
Like, Arvin, definitely has the most story of the three rivals because he's directly connected to the professor.
Yeah.
Which, in and of itself, honestly, was really sick. I thought it was awesome. Like,
I really like how...
Could it have been explored more? Yes, but again, we're asking a lot from a Pokemon game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be ridiculous for a Pokemon game to do more to its story. Like, I think...
We've seen what Black and White can do.
I think Game Freak is kind of dragging their feet with how little they want to change, you know, the central formula.
I can see that, yeah, because it like they're definitely taking a lot of like they're taking a lot of steps mechanically. Yeah. That's for certain. in terms of how where the story wants to go, I will say they did make a lot of really, really good, like, moves in Scarlet and Violet. I'm just gonna say right now, the finale of Scarlet and Violet, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely fantastic. Spread that out a little bit throughout the rest, you know? Like, that's genuinely good stuff.
Like, if you look at the stakes of each story, though,
Yeah.
like, of each Pokemon game story, there's usually some force that's, like, going to do bad in the world.
Yeah.
Even if it's, like, just Team Rocket stealing stuff.
Uh-huh.
Team Rocket's a little bit more in, like, theory bait, because, like, people talk about, like, oh, was Giovanni trying to capture Mewtwo and stuff like that?
Yeah, like, for all intents and purposes, like, there's the angle of, oh, you are dealing with what is essentially the Pokemon Mafia, the Pokemon Yakuza type thing. And then you have Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, where you have someone who is so unbelievably insane that they're trying to rewrite reality.
Yeah, it goes from, like, Gen 1, Pokemon Yakuza.
Yeah.
Gen 2, the Pokemon Yakuza is trying to come back.
Yeah.
And they're doing some bad stuff while they do that. Lake of Rage, etc.
Yeah.
Gen 3, world-ending cataclysm.
Yeah! Yeah!
Gen 4, universe-ending cataclysm.
Like, reality-ending cataclysm.
Gen 5, like, society takeover, but, like, still a big thing.
Like, Ghetsis, for all intents and purposes, goes for a hostile takeover of an entire region. Like, yeah, not to the same level as, like, universe ending with, like, Cyrus, or, like, you know, world ending, like, with, Team Magma or Team Aqua. But even so, like, I think a lot of what made Ghetsis such a remarkable villain is the fact that his methods were rather draconian.
Yeah.
Like, the dude is, like... The dude's pure evil. Like, just gonna say that right now.
Like, the stakes are high. We can't let Ghetsis win.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, Gen 6, world-ending cataclysm.
Gen 6 was...
Team Flare.
Team Flare. Oh, yeah. Fashion disaster.
Yeah. Gen 7, like, invading Ultra Beasts, and then, like, also a lot more personal stakes with Lucamine's family.
Yeah, which in and of itself was interesting. Can I like be real with you for a moment? I cared more about Team Skull than I did about the Aether Foundation.
I was rooting for the Aether Foundation. I think my biggest problem with that story is that, like it was obvious that they were gonna be antagonists. Like, it was easy to see that coming from the first time you visit there. That, like, oh, they have their own, like, grunts, and, like, there's gonna be a problem later. What's weird to me is that you never have, like, the mask-off reveal of it. Just, like, you go to the Aether Foundation the second time, and grunts just, like, start fighting you.
Pretty much.
But there's never a moment of, like, oh no, the Aether Foundation's actually bad.
Mm-hmm. And then Generation 8
is world-ending cataclysm, but you don't really know about a lot of it until it happens.
I'm gonna go on record in saying that the world-ending cataclysm and stakes in Generation 8 was kind of freaking stupid.
Yeah.
It's like say what you will about, like, Leon, right? Like, personally, I think Leon's an okay character.
Yeah.
I think
I like Leon a lot, actually.
I think he's all right. Like, personally,
I don't blame him for the problems with the story.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you right now, he was a sensible one. Because freaking, what's his face?
Chairman Rose.
Chairman Rose is a goddamn lunatic!
Yeah.
But he's not a goddamn lunatic in like, oh no, like, he's going to do this really drastic thing. No. He's a lunatic because he's trying to solve a problem that's not going to be a problem for another millennia.
Yeah, and
what are you worried about, sir?
And that we can, like, work together and solve it tomorrow, sir.
Yeah,
just today we want to have our tournament, please.
Of all the time, like, not only that is, like, dude, this is a day for us to celebrate. Let's not cause a panic by canceling the event that everyone in the region cares about.
Yeah.
First of all. And second of all, if you're so worried about this cataclysmic ending crisis, why wait until now? Why wait until the very day before the competition for us to actually do something? Why do you have to, like, bring this up to me at the most inconvenient time possible?
Yeah, I feel about Rose kind of the way I feel about Lysander, where, like, I could imagine a characterization that would, like, make this make sense, but it's not in the game.
God knows I can't see it. Like...
I think it would have to be, like, he would still be wrong, but something where, like, Rose, like, has, like, some sort of savior complex or something like that, and, like, I want to see him, like, really, like, devolve into madness of this, and even, like, if he, like, has disdain for, like, the Pokemon Championship itself, and that, like, he chooses to do this on the day of the tournament because he doesn't want other people, like, he doesn't want Leon to, like, get the spotlight, and he doesn't want other trainers to be, you know, he wants the event to be everybody seeing him fixing the world's problems.
Yeah.
But it's not in the script. The script doesn't do anything to make that make sense to us, even in his own frame of sanity.
Quite frankly, like, I think the game would have benefited from another antagonist actually provoking the whole world-ending crisis thing. Hell, make it Oleana, you know? Like, Oleana was a legitimately, like, cool character.
Yeah.
Like, is she the most interesting? No, because, like, she wasn't really given any opportunity to be so.
There's something there.
Yeah, like, that's the thing about, that's the thing about, like, Sword and Shield that, like, really emphasizes my issue with it. There's something there. There's something right there that really, really wants to come out and be a cool thing.
Yeah.
And it's just not coming.
Yeah.
But again, like, I want to say, I want to say that maybe I'm a little bit cynical in saying, oh, we're expecting too much of a Pokemon game, but that's the thing. I want to expect more from a Pokemon game, because, like, there's some really, really cool stuff that you can write some legitimately amazing stories with this world. Look at the Mystery Dungeon games.
Yeah.
The Mystery Dungeon games, amazing narratives.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely fantastic.
The anime, cool stuff happens in the anime sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of cooler stuff, like, happened later.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, the season finale where Ash finally won, and, like, like, that whole eventual thing, like, what was it, the Champions Tournament?
Yeah.
Like, the Champions Tournament, legitimately cool.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately awesome. It was nice to see all of these, like, all-stars of Pokemon come together. It was awesome to see Cynthia throw down. It was awesome to see Steven Stone throw down.
Yeah,
like,
I have my issues with it here and there, but...
Oh, yeah, but, like, you know... What we got, for what we got, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, that I'll give.
I can nitpick it, but the Cynthia fight was well done, and the Leon fight was very well done, and the Steven fight was pretty well done. I don't like the final Pikachu versus Metagross. I feel like... I don't know.
They were reaching a bit.
Because... you get, like, Mega Metagross versus Pikachu, and... oh no, Mega Metagross is really fast, oh, this is Steven's ace, oh no, and Ash uses the Z move... and then,
10,000 volts or something,
yeah,
like 100 million volts.
And just wins by, like, doing the Z move. So that's, like, to me in anime fights, there always has to be, like, something, like, qualitative about how you win than just being... using a more powerful thing.
Yeah, like...
if Ash had to, like, figure out a way to, like... I don't know.
short out its circuitry or something.
Yeah, a way to, like, make sure that that landed, if it was, like, use it as a lightning rod or something.
That is actually one thing that I really liked about, like, the first generations of Pokemon, because, so one of my favorite moments from the first season of Pokemon is when, Ash fought the Grass-type, leader in the Pokemon League. And he was struggling because, like, he was winning with Bulbasaur. But as soon as she brought out Bellsprout...
yeah, she had this crazy good Bellsprout.
Like, the Bellsprout was like, oh my god, this thing is kicking everything's ass. He'd even beat Pikachu. And then he pulls out a trump card with Muck.
Yeah.
That was cool.
And that's what I mean. There needs to be, like, something that explains why the hero wins this, if it's, like, supposed to be an opponent who was, like, going to be difficult for them.
Exactly.
Because what this kind of tells us is just that, like, Ash's Pikachu was always better than Steven's Metagross. There was never really any danger.
Mm-hmm. Which, like, is not fair. Like, not to Steven, not to Pikachu.
Yeah.
And not to the series as a whole. I will say, though, another fight that I thought was badass and super touching from the Champions Tournament, Cynthia versus Iris, dude.
Cynthia versus Iris was really cool.
I honestly think that might be in competition with, like, the best fight in that entire thing. Because, like, wow. Wow, did Iris put up a fight.
Yeah.
Was she going to win that? No, she was not.
Nobody expected her to win.
Damn, did she put up an amazing performance.
Yeah.
I was rooting for her by the end.
That's where you get that kind of, like, Uraraka versus Bakugo kind of thing of, like,
Uh-huh.
you know she's gonna lose, but man, can she lose.
Did she, like, that was, like, one of the best, like, performances I've ever seen.
Lose like a champ.
That was an underdog moment,
Yeah.
dude. Damn,
Like,
Iris.
yeah.
I won so much respect for Iris after that fight. And damn, did she take it like a champion.
Yeah.
Oh, man. See, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Is like, Pokemon can do amazing stories. We want to see some of that effort put into the mainline titles, instead of writing on, like, you know, different mechanics and, like, different competitive elements and, like, new forms and whatnot, and, like, the umpteenth Charizard that we've seen in God knows how long. I'm not trying to dump on Charizard. I think Charizard is a great Pokemon, but even I'm going to admit he's a little overused here, people.
Yeah.
Like, even I'm starting to get tired of it. It's like... And yeah, I think Scarlet and Violet came very close to giving us that. We genuinely cared about Arven and Penny, and Nimona is, like, genuinely fun to be around.
Yeah.
The DLC with Kieran and Carmine was really, really good. And yeah, the finale, once we got to Area Zero, damn, that took us by surprise, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
And the reason why I think is so surprising is because the game has such low stakes up to that point, which doesn't make it bad. I think it's okay for a game to tell a story with lower stakes. I like that it's just, like, 3 separate stories about, like, your rivalry with Nimona and, like, bullying with Penny and saving Arven's dog.
Yeah. And, like, all those are, like, again, I think Scarlet and Violet, for all intents and purposes, narrative-wise, did a lot of good things. Did a lot of real...
Especially after Sword and Shield.
Mm-hmm. Is it, like, up there as, like, some of our favorites when it comes to, like, writing? No, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. Now, if only the game was given more time to cook in the oven, so that we're not dealing with crazy, like, frame drops and glitches and, like, God knows what else existed in that god's-forsaken game. Jesus Christ, man.
Like, even in cutscenes,
like,
in early cutscenes, you're getting, like, 5 frames per second, kids kicking their feet.
Like, come on, guys. Like, I understand you want to get, like, these titles out, like, on a timely basis, but you're better than this. Like, for real.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably developers doing the best they can and executive producers being like, no, do it faster.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure there was something going on with, what was it? I'm pretty sure there was something going on down there with Game Freak.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's mainly Game Freak that's, like, perpetuating some of that, which, like, again, I don't want to make assumptions, but it's pretty telling. And when Pokemon Presents came out, like, the last Pokemon Presents, and we saw that the big title was Pokemon Legends AZ, I was happy. Again, we discussed this before, purely because it meant the next generation is going to have some more time to cook.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
that's what I want to see.
That's also what I thought when I saw, like, when they did, like, Legends Arceus before jumping into Gen 9 and stuff. That, like, okay, good, we're gonna, like, do some smaller things before we jump into the next big thing. And, I mean, to an extent that was true. Gen 9 was better than Gen 8 in terms of, like, running well.
And yeah, that's the thing. That's another thing, right? Because, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Pokemon Legends Arceus didn't have its slew of issues as well, but it was more forgivable there because, like, one, they were trying something different, and the execution, for all intents and purposes, it functioned.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, there were some things, like, here and there that might have caused issues, but they were minuscule at best.
Yeah, I like Legends Arceus. It felt like a very fresh take.
I enjoyed my time with that game. I very much did, and I would do it again.
Yeah.
I've actually been contemplating doing a second playthrough of that game.
The story of it is, like, neat. I don't think it has, like, a, you know, earth-shatteringly great story either, but I think it does well enough.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main takeaway for me with it, is that it was fun. And sometimes that's all you need, which, again, can be said about the mainline Pokemon titles, but it has gotten to the point where we are expecting something more from the mainline series, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, like, Game Freak's not an indie dev. Like, Pokemon is one of the biggest media franchises of all time. I think it might be...
I think it's the biggest.
I think it is.
Like, I think it is, because, like this shit is bigger than, like, Disney, even, and that's saying something.
Yeah, and if, like... You know, if Supergiant can make Hades... Like, if an indie dev can make Hades, if an indie dev can make Baldur's Gate 3... Like, I don't think it's impossible to expect a Pokemon game to have, like, a real story.
If I recall correctly, like, this is actually something I wanted to discuss with you, and, like, I suppose now is a good time. What's your take on the whole, like, big-budget title thing that's been going around lately, in the video game, like, environment? Like, a lot of people are talking about, like, oh, like, you know, the consequence of the best graphics, or, like, you know, big-budget, like, movie, like big-budget, like, blockbuster movie,
Yeah.
like, money sinks, where it's like, you know, sometimes all we want is just a fun title. I remember we discussed this a little bit before, but what's your take on that?
Like, it's not like graphics don't matter, but, like, I think we've gotten to the point where, like, the graphics are good enough.
Yeah.
Like, I'd still like to see, you know, the occasional game here and there that, like, pushes the graphical boundaries, you know, God of War Ragnarok, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like, different things when they go big budget and stuff, but I think every game, too many games, like, every AAA studio is trying to do that.
Yeah.
And one, it, like, makes a lot of games kind of run together because their artistic design is just realism.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily have a lot of, like, visual identity. Like, there's a lot of AAA games that I can't even keep straight in my head anymore, and I have to keep reminding myself what it even is.
Yeah.
But also, I think just the, like, economic state of the video game industry is so screwed right now.
Yeah, that's the main thing I was, like, wondering what your take on that is. Like,
you know how... This is going to sound like I'm talking about politics, but I'm not saying... I'm using it as an example. I'm not going to get into heavy politics, but, like...
Dude, you and I have, like, come on record in saying that we're not really above talking about that sort of thing.
But, like,
go for it.
You know how, like, we worry about politicians because, like, all the politicians seem to just be, like, backed by lobbyists, and that's, like, all the money in the... It's all the billionaires.
Oh, believe me, I'm well aware.
It's the same in the games industry, that it's the investors, and that it's the, like, and all the money is going to just a few people, and then, like, the business is unsustainable because they have to give all the money they make to the people who lent them the startup money, which are these, like, super billionaires that don't really do anything except have money.
Yeah.
And, you know, even if you make, like, a landmark title that's really, really popular and has a lot of, like... I'll accept that, like, something having artistic merit doesn't really matter to a company if it doesn't make money, like, fine. But, like, if you have to if you can make a game like Hi-Fi Rush or like Marvel Spider-Man 2 or something that sells so well, and then you have to lay off most or all of the staff that made it, then your business doesn't work.
Yeah. Like, you want to know one... Okay, so... A great example of the opposite of this, right? Because they kind of cleaned up their act. They kind of were basically like, hey, we gotta stop doing this because this is unsustainable. Let's try and, like, rework our business model to make sure that the market not only benefits us, but benefits the consumer and benefits our benefactors. Capcom.
Yeah, I think Capcom
is, like, in probably the best state it's ever been lately.
I think they've been one of the better big-name companies lately.
And you want to know one of the biggest reasons for this, and a lot of people are going to, like, find this surprising, but this is so unbelievably important. Multi-platform support. If you've noticed, over the last couple years, Capcom's titles have been available on all platforms, or at the very least, most of them.
That's true, yeah. Anything that can run it will run it.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's like drastically changed their market for their benefit.
Yeah.
Like, anything that can run their game, with exceptions, of course, because, like, they're still not going to put something like Street Fighter on a Switch.
Yeah.
But they recognize that.
But
they're being like, hey, this thing can run on PC. This thing can run on PlayStation 5. This thing can run on Xbox. Let's get them out there.
Now, if you're playing Street Fighter 6, I honestly don't know. If you're playing Street Fighter 6 on PlayStation... Can you play against people who have it for Xbox?
As a matter of fact, yes, you can.
Because I think that's so great when companies do that.
That is another thing that they've been doing lately is cross-platform support, so that like players who have like a PlayStation but don't necessarily have a powerful PC are like, hey, we can still play this together even though we have a different console. Guess what they just announced recently that now has that for the next title? Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Wilds is getting cross-platform support, and everyone is happy about it.
And I mean, we've all, like, laughed about when, like, people say, like, oh, people don't want single-player games anymore. Yes, we do.
Oh, absolutely we do. Absolutely
but Capcom is killing it with competitive games and, like, big party games.
Yeah. And even then, like, their single-player content is still really good. Look at the Resident Evil series.
Yeah, look at DMC5.
Like, DMC5, like, I am shocked. Like, this was during a time when they were still having that old business model. They actually deemed DMC5 a failure financially, despite the fact that it's probably one of their most successful titles ever.
Yeah. And that's, like, because the thing is, sadly, like, Naughty Dog laying off so many people after Spider-Man 2 was such a big success.
Yeah.
That wasn't Naughty Dog. Wait, Insomniac.
Insomniac Games, yeah.
Sony making Insomniac lay off a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like, well, that's bad. Don't do that. Don't lay off those people. And the problem is, though, to, like, even do this project to start with, they had to start by making deals with a whole bunch of investors. So the reason why they have to do that is that after the game comes out and they do make money, so much of that money then has to go back to the investors who gave it to them in the first place. So the problem is you can't even get a game like that off the ground these days until you basically promised away all of its earnings.
Yep.
So, no, they shouldn't have laid off all those people, but, like, by this point, like, they had already made the mistake. They had already...
They've already dug their own graves, and, like...
You can't just, like, not pay back the investors. Like, the system is too screwed already.
Mm-hmm.
We need, like, serious reform in the whole industry.
Especially because, like again, this is going to come as a surprise to some, but not as a surprise to most. Most of these investors who are, like, you know, sinking in their money into these, like, into these big budget titles hoping to make a profit, more than likely know nothing about the industry.
No.
They don't know how, like, employee in, like, game design or game development industry works.
Their understanding is money go in, money go out.
Pretty much. And that's the unfortunate thing. Not to say that you shouldn't rely on investors. Like, that's kind of like...
You have to.
You have to because, like, you know, people need to... The industry runs on money. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But you also need to understand that you can't just solely rely on investors to, like, make your big budget titles. Because you need to understand the balancing of a budget and understand that, you know, you need to at least, like, have someone who understands how the industry works. Don't invest in your own, like, system or in your own project without knowing the consequences that might come of it.
And like, the problem is that the way the industry works right now is way too much to the benefit of investors.
Exactly.
The same way as, like the housing market right now is, like, way too much to the benefit of
the seller.
And
that in itself is an entirely different can of worms.
It's a larger economic thing right now that, like, too much power and too much money is focused on too small an amount of people.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not that smart about it, and I don't really have an answer of how to fix it. That doesn't involve, like, throwing Molotov cocktails through windows, and personally, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, let's not commit crimes, shall we?
Yeah, I'm not a crime committer.
Be gay? Yeah, sure. But let's avoid the crime part.
I can respect a good protester. if you're out there on the streets protesting and you're getting a little rowdy, I'm okay with that. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, be
safe.
Be the gay and maybe do a tiny smidge of crime.
Thinking about Wambu's one video of, like, of crime doing / gay being.
Oh man, that was a great line.
I think that's in their Skull the Hero Slayer.
Yeah, he was talking about the thief skull.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, I love it. I love watching his videos. Wait, and by the way, that's another thing that the industry needs to understand, but they've also been, like, a bit better about recently. Hey, Poindexters, don't go after YouTube content creators. That's free marketing for you. Let them be. Like.
Yeah, I feel like we were having this conversation 10 years ago with you guys.
Like, for real,
it's
still a problem.
Yeah.
Like, come on, people. We're better than this at this point.
I think of, like, what, on the Jimquisition, what she says all the time is that the problem is these companies don't just want a lot of money, they want all the money.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. But, yeah, we're sitting here, we're enjoying the industry as much as we can, we're enjoying video games. We're enjoying video games, we're not enjoying the industry. We're enjoying the video games as much as we can.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix it. It does make me more appreciative of indie devs that are able to keep their heads above water and, like,
I was actually going to say,
passion,
like,
for what they're doing.
I remember one line you said a little while ago that the indie scene is basically the lifeblood of the video game industry right now, and I completely agree. Like, indie titles are, like, absolutely killing it nowadays. Particularly those who are able to, like, you know, keep themselves going even in spite of, like, you know, in questionable business practices. Hi, Tango Gameworks.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I feel so bad for Tango.
They're not all, you know, you have stories like Supergiant Games, and then you have stories like Tango Gameworks.
Yeah. Like, Supergiant Games, keep it up, guys, because I am so much enjoying Hades 2 right now, and I can't stop, dude. Like, that game is so unbelievably amazing. Alright, Franz, see if you can take us away.
Oh, Franz.
Hey. This floor was pretty easy.
Yeah, this felt like a shorter one.
That was a far cry from, like, the last one. Goodness gracious.
I mean, yeah, like I was saying, I believe the third floor is the real
problem
grinder. Yeah.
All right, well, that pretty much wraps up for that one. Let's just take a look ahead and see what we got here. Another narrow hallway level. These are the ones that I tend to feel are the easiest ones because it, like, it very much, like, lowers the risk of us getting surrounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the main issue with the third floor, and the first floor in particular, is that there was just so much risk of, like, us getting attacked from so many different angles.
Yep.
So this definitely is not as difficult to deal with. Alright, so yeah, that pretty much sums it up for us today. So thank you guys for joining us for Floor 4 of the Lagdou Ruins on Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. Next time, more talks, more violence, more swords getting stabbed into monsters' flesh.
Sword go in, sword come out.
With blood. The lifeblood.
Blood is the lifeblood of blood.